Yeah, we are live already. Lloyd can take over.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. This is Lloyd speaking. So welcome to the first show, my first show. All right, so just to give a bit of introduction, for my show, I won't really be doing much of analysis with the exception of reversals. Yeah. So, and after that, I'll be sharing different tools that I've come across while browsing the internet, while trading, which I think might be useful to you guys out there. Yeah. So that's how the format of the show will go. Reversals, then tools. Tools can be the form of different websites, or might be indicators, or can be different platforms. Yeah. So this is something that I find in my trading pathway that I find that sometimes it's useful to me. I might have grown out of it, but still I think some of them are really useful. All right. With that, let me hop on over to my charts. Okay. So I'm going to go through a few charts today. Like I mentioned, that reversals does fascinate me, and the times that sometimes when they work out is really wonderful. I mean, when you see the profits rolling in, but more often than not, I'm still primarily a trend trader. The reversals to me is when it happens, that it happens. I don't really go out of my way to spot for it. So I'm going to share 6 pair today, which I think might possibly be reversed. But when I meant reversal, one thing to think of is that it might not necessarily happen within the week. It's just that the possibility is there. Yeah. So I've identified 6 pair, and I'll go through them one by one. So the first pair that we are going to go through is actually Aussie cats. My reversals, I always start to spot them on the weekly time frame. Yeah, so you can see the Aussie cat is essentially what I'm just using is just RSI. Yeah. So you can see the RSI is actually overbought for this particular candle, the yellow candle. Yeah, so I've actually marked out the high and low of the candle, and I'm just waiting for price to actually reverse. So the high and low essentially works as a horizontal level for me. So on the weekly chart, you can see that price essentially is consolidating when RSI went overbought. So it has not reversed yet. So you can see that this has been going on so for the past 1 month. Yeah, so sometimes reversals, we just got to be wait for them. When you go down on the daily chart, now here's a good thing. You can see on the daily chart, on the weekly chart, I already marked out the high and the low. So on the daily chart, this, for some of you who trade chart patterns and price actions, this will actually signifies a rather good news to us, I would say. You can see that price actually hesitated over here quite some time, and even in the past. And if you drag out the box longer all the way, so this is really a solid horizontal level. Yeah, so by tomorrow morning, if this remains as a rejection bar, so I will actually most probably going for a short trade for Aussie cat. Yeah, so that's the first trade of the day, Aussie cat. The second trade, which I've marked out, is actually Aussie dollar. So you can see on the weekly bar for last week, this is actually a high test bar. So same thing for RSI events to overbought. So I marked out the zones. Yeah. So what I'm waiting for price to do essentially is for price to actually is really near the low of the weekly bar. So always I'm waiting for price to actually break and retest, and then I can go for a short position. Next on the list is actually euro dollar. So euro dollar on the weekly chart, you can see that it's overbought on last week bar. So on daily time frame, we have not seen any secondary rejections on the high. So again, waiting for price to break and retest before I can go for a short position. Pound odd on the weekly time frame, we can see that it's actually oversold. Yeah, so again, mark out the high and the low. What I'm waiting for price to do is basically for price to actually, the midline is tradable, though I rarely trade that. Yeah, I must confess, I rarely trade that. So a more better setup is always to wait for price to actually break and a retest, and then I can go for a long position. Yeah. So if it's really a trend change, I don't mind really giving up a few pips to the markets. Next on the list is actually dollar Swiss. Again, on the weekly time frame, it's clustering for quite some time already. But good news for dollar Swiss is that you can see that price on the weekly time frame is really near the high of the bar. It attempted to break several times for the past few candles. It wasn't successful. You can see that it attempted to break. So again, what I need price to do is for price to break, retest. If on the retest, I'll actually go for a long position. It's a rather simple setup. Yeah, so don't really complicate it. And the last on my list will be actually USD SGD. So on the weekly time frame, you can see that this is an oversold bar. So price currently is at the low. So on the daily time frame, now this will actually be one of the earliest entry for a trend change. So essentially this will be a double bottom. And we can see that the price action has already put in the rejection bar. So if nothing goes wrong, probably Aussie CAD and USD SGD will be something which I trade tomorrow morning. So here is the reversal chart which I'll be sharing. And the next on my list that I'm about to share for today's tool is a website called My FX Book. Okay, so let me hop on over. Yeah. So this only works for those of you who have your personal account. Yeah, so especially for those of you who has not gotten into the habit of how do I put it, journaling your trades. Yeah. So my FX will be an alternative that you can probably take note of. So what I've attached to my FX book is actually my testing account. It's got a horrendous result, but this is just my testing account. I use it to play along my indicators. Yeah. So I don't just play the indicators and back test and play around in my head. I actually forward test them. But of course, this is just my Sense account. Yeah, it's only worth $1,000, so it doesn't really matter much to me. Yeah. So once you head over to my FX book, which is the website myfxbook.com, you can go to Add Account. So over here, you can choose to add your account. I only have one account over here. And then choose your platform. Don't use MT4EA. You should be choosing MT4 Auto Updates. Or if you're using MT5 or any other platform, just choose accordingly. Your account name, anything that you can type in, whichever that is. Choose your broker. Yeah, so for my testing account, that's Pepperstone. That's for me. And then the server that you're using. So usually for each broker, they'll have multiple server. So choose your correct server. Put in your account number, and then your investor password. All right. So this is the reason why it only works for your personal account. It doesn't work for any other account that you do not have access to the investor passwords. Yeah, so for any of you who is doing Forex challenges or using other people's account, you won't have your investor account. Yeah, so it wouldn't work for those. Please take note, it only works, you can only register your personal account because you need your investor password. So this investor password usually is the second or third email the broker send to you once you have registered your account successfully. So once you have put in orders, so let's head on over. So this is my account. You can see that I registered in Singapore dollars. That's my leverage, 1:300. Essentially, this works as an online trading journal for you. Really horrible chart that I have, but as I mentioned, this is a testing account, so it will be a miracle if I have a positive growth. And these are all the functions that you have. So you can look at your current P&L, weekly, monthly, or yearly. The number of trades that you have got. So all these are the matrix for it. So currently I have 2 open trades. Past trading activity, all your orders are all here. So you can see in terms of my monthly analytics for 2020, this is how it goes. 2019, So you can, so for the monthly analytics, it goes all the way back when you first open your account. So I opened it back when it was 2017. That's when I first started to learn Forex. Yeah. So I have then I already have a mindset that I'll be breaking rules left, right, center. So I deliberately opened a Sense account just for me to fool around. This is my history. So this has all your trades in. When you open, when you close, the symbols, whatever the actions, your profit, P&L, even the graph. So you can, once every trade in, you can actually put in your comments if you need it. Yeah, usually I'll just ignore it. I don't really need it. So this is what I'm sharing today. Yeah, so for those of you who do not keep an active trading journal, you can consider using my FX book. For a start, for those of you who are confused about keeping trading journal and don't know what to put in, or you're simply too busy or too lazy, either of which, my FX book works pretty well. So this shows you all your equity, your drawdown, all the matrix that you need to record for your trading journal. So the summary of my trades is below. Not a very nice thing, I would say. Yeah. So from here, at one glance, you would know actually how well you are faring already. And risk of ruin, this is something which is, I suppose, not many of you considered when you're trading. So even the way how this account is doing, no matter how I look at it, the risk of ruin is very high. Yeah, and it should not. If it's a active trading account, it should not be this way. There should be greens on it. Okay? If your equity curve is actually going upwards, it should not be like mine altogether. Yeah. So that's what I'm sharing. Let me see if there's any questions, then I'll be happy to take them. By the way, this website is free of charge. You need not pay anything. Okay. So I guess, so I have a question. What if it breaks and continue? I suppose that's from the reversals. Right. Just let me share with you that. So this is actually what USD SGD. So essentially, previously RSI was actually oversold on a weekly time frame. So I marked out a high and low for this bar. Right, so I just put into vertical lines so you can. So let's have a look at what happened when price eventually breaks. All right. So when you go to a daily time frame, this is the primary reason why I don't really like to trade within the body of it. Yeah. So sometimes it can be a range, and a range can take up to a few weeks. So I tend to avoid. Unless it gives me another test, there will be a double top. Then I'll be happy to actually take that trade. So what I'm waiting is for price to actually break the low. So once I will actually trade this bar. To me, this is a good break. You can see actually more than 50% of the body, and this is really a bearish close. Then I will jump to this trade immediately. Yeah. Otherwise, subsequently, you can see that there's a rejection bar coming on. You can also jump to that. Yeah. So now, let me see if I can look for any other example. Okay, so let me highlight this. So this is sometimes what might happen. RSI goes into oversold continuously. Then we simply don't have trades to go on. So if you look at a daily time frame, let me get rid of these two lines. If you look at the daily time frame, let me go into it. You can see that price did not actually come anywhere near to the low. And even then, there was no double top to speak of. So we just let it go altogether. We don't really care about it. Doesn't mean that when RSI oversold, there will definitely be a reversal. Yeah, the Q is still, we must look at what price is telling us at then. No, like, so for those of you who is on the show, ADW students, you can't actually use my FX book, yeah, because you do not have access to the investor passwords. Yeah, so if you remember back during the course, how Paul mentions how the account are structured, it's not an individual account of each. Yeah, so you do not have your investor passwords. Yeah, it only works for those of you who have a personal account. But if you can't use it now, well, just take note of it. In the future, it should be useful to you. As you can see during the matrix that I shared, it will be far more than what you can personally record. So even like, okay, let me see, trading. My current trade, okay, which is in negative 10 cents, and my Aussie Kiwi, which is positive 95 cents. So let's look at the positive ones. So it will show you all these matrix. I got positive about 10 pips. Yeah, so price didn't really move a lot, essentially. Yeah. So it will show you much more than you actually need, which is useful. So it shows you this is my buy. And price, I think, just moved a bit. Still not very far. All right, so I hope you find this, my FX book, the tools that I shared today is useful to you. Yeah. So next week, I'll be sharing some other tools. Hopefully, as time goes on, your whatever thing that you think you are lacking from trading, via some of the tools that I shared, it might be useful to you. Yeah. Of course, I don't expect you to use everything that I shared. That will be really, really confusing. All right, guys. So there's a quick session today. So please take note of the 6 pairs that I've shared: Aussie CAD, Aussie dollar, Euro USD, Pound Aussie, dollar Swiss, and dollar SGD. Yeah, potential pairs that might be going for reversals. And as I've shared with you, the way that I trade reversals is quite straightforward. On the weekly chart, any RSI that went into overbought or oversold, mark out the high and low, and then just wait for price to actually break. So if it's oversold, waiting for price to break the high, go for a retest, or if it's a good break, we can also enter. Sometimes, if you're confident enough, like what is happening now for USD SGD, if you see a double bottom, you can consider going for it. Now, I have to admit that reversal trading is not something that's easily mastered for new traders, but it is still worthy of your observations. Yeah. So even if you don't trade the actual reversals itself, don't force yourself to trade anything that you're not comfortable with. Just wait for the usual cyclicity to happen. It's not hard. Okay, so if it's really an actual reversal, price will retrace somewhere somehow. So just wait for price to do this. Retrace, and then you can actually trade the reversals already. Not reversals, the retracement itself. Yeah. So there is still a point in looking out for reversals. Doesn't mean that you have to trade it. Yeah. Just that you can anticipate a reversal so that you can trade the retracement itself. So because the first and second retracement will always be the most profitable for a trend trader. That's one of the other things I hope you can take away with. Hi, my MACD is used for another purpose. I don't use it actually for reversal trading. Yeah. I more of it use it for trend trading. Yeah, so it don't really come into play for what I'm sharing now. Next, okay, I do have some time, so I can share with you. There's no secrets in my trading. My RSI, so you can see that I'm using tradingview.com. This is something that I'll be sharing probably next week. So this is the indicator that which I'm using, the RSI candles. No, it's actually RSI bars. My mistake. RSI bar colors, RSI candle is more or less the same thing. Yeah. So the settings is actually 70 and 30, which is the original setting. So on the weekly chart, I'm using RSI 10. Yeah. So that's the only thing that I changed. So I have to emphasize, some of you already are interested in the settings. The settings itself is meaningless. I can use any other settings as a dim fit. It's just that I'm using RSI to give me a heads up that price might possibly reversed. So I'm still using horizontal level, which is marked by the high and low, and I'm still using candlesticks to tell me when the reversals might possibly start or end. I think for the MACD histogram, some of you will have seen how I use it during the Sunday show. Yeah, it's more for trend trading usage. I'm just using it to read the retracement itself. All right, so with that, thank you for joining me today's show. I hope in the future I'll be sharing more useful tools that you all can make use of. In the world of trading, nothing is fixed. I always like to say, I play around, I fool around a lot. I like to share whatever I find. But at the end of the day, different tools suits different trader. Please always backtest, and backtest. Don't take anything I say as the holy grail, or that applies for any and everybody else. Okay. Whatever we share works for us, but doesn't necessarily mean it works for you, because we trade it in a particular manner as per our trading character. So for you guys who are listening, please backtest it. My FX book, again, I will just, before I end this show, I'll just demonstrate. Once you registered for the account, for my FX book, go to portfolio. After you go to there, add account. And from there, on the lower right-hand side, this is where you can add your account in. Now, I almost forgot. Even if you don't have your personal account, for my FX book as a journaling tool, what you can do is still register for an account. Look at it, what some other people share for their charts. You can actually follow any other traders that's on it, or you can just look at the most agreed chart. Some are really messy. You might find somebody whose analysis suits you, and just follow that particular trader. Yeah. So just click at a chart, look at it. It might give you some idea what to trade. Yeah. Again, other things that you can look for here. In the past, some people always ask, look, I have two pairs to trade. I don't know which is the better pair, or are they correlated or not. Then look for the market correlations. Over here, find currencies with correlation lower than, or currencies with correlation higher than. So this is what you can do. Type 50% in, and then you will highlight all the currencies that has lower than 50% correlation. So as a rule of thumb, usually when I get multiple setups, I try not to trade those strongly correlated pairs, because they tend to move in tandem. That means I will get stop loss in tandem if I get it wrong. Yeah. Although the contrary is also true, I will get my take profits in tandem if I get it right altogether. But really, trading correlated pairs and you trade all 1% together is not a good idea in the long run. Yeah. So between Aussie CAD and Aussie CAD is of course 100% correlated. Aussie CAD and Aussie Yen is only 45% correlated. So this is something useful. That all the way, like Aussie Swiss and dollar CAD is negatively correlated. Yeah. So if you get these two pairs as a setup, Aussie Swiss and dollar CAD, I will actually trade both at 1% since they are negatively correlated. It's simple as that. All right, so with that, thank you for joining me today, and I hope I've shared something useful to all of you. Goodbye and have a nice evening ahead. Okay.